Let's go for it! I like the dark stuff. Give me the dark stuff. I like the dark stuff. Give me the dark stuff.
Hey there, everybody. It's me, your buddy Dave, the host of the Dark Stuff channel here on YouTube. Thanks a lot for checking out my newest video. This week's guest is Chris from the Vinyl Transmission channel. If you're a member of the vinyl community in good standing, you're probably pretty familiar with Chris. He's one of the most creative video makers on YouTube in this particular genre of video making, vinyl videos and whatnot. And in today's video, we're going to be discussing live music. It's the thing that he and I are both missing the most while we're in this quarantine. And sadly, it's one of the things that is supposed to return last after this thing is finally over. Hopefully that's not exactly the case. So for this video, we are going to be talking about the last few concerts we saw prior to lockdown, some stuff that we were looking forward to seeing that was canceled in the spring and summer because of it, and a little look to the future and an idea of some of the things that we are looking forward to seeing once this lockdown ends. It's a pretty good discussion. I think you're going to like it. Don't go anywhere. All right, Chris, Vinyl
Hey, man.
Transmission. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Cool.
It's been a while since we've
to see you.
communicated, since we've heard from you. Since me too. I mean, I'm not the most active guy on YouTube as much as I used to, but here's to hoping that we both end up doing more videos in the future. Maybe 2020, after all this crap, we'll be able to get back into the groove.
It's been about almost a year since I've made a video, so it's
Wow, has it been that long?
it's coming up on that, and that's crazy. And I didn't intend it to be that way, but I've moved twice, and so
Okay,
I'm
that
still
takes
kind of setting my scene up. So
Yeah, that's difficult. Moving with a record collection is just
oh man,
it's
and most of the people that we see in the vinyl community, some of them I'm jealous. They've had their situation going for like 20 years.
right. Our topic for this video, we've decided to come together to talk about live music. Now, I did a live music video recently, a couple weeks ago. I don't know when this is going to air. So a few weeks before we're recording this, where I just put little 10-second clips of everything I've shot in the last 5 years, and I just looped them together. It's just like, this is what we're missing with live music. Hopefully this will be coming back. And I can't wait. The thing I'm most looking forward to when all of this COVID-19 stuff is done is really live music. I can deal with takeout restaurants, or my hair looks like shit. I'm somehow going to have to get a haircut at some point, but I'm mostly concerned about the live music thing.
Yeah, because my collecting, I love my collection, but it's kind of slowed way down for whatever reason. So, but I'm really a careful curator of the live shows that I go to. And I'm probably more open-minded about the live shows that I go to than I would even on what I would collect or purchase, records or vinyl, because I'm after like a new experience or a good
Right.
experience live.
Well, and also you can appreciate someone as a live performer, or are they putting on a good show, even if you don't really care much for the music. I've gone to shows that was an impressive show. It's just like, don't really care for the band though.
That's a perfect lead into something that I wanted to bring up, a show that I saw of a band that I'm really not crazy about, even if we were to say, like, I probably wouldn't even necessarily like them. I would say I like a few things of theirs, but I had an incredible experience seeing them live, and that was Arcade Fire.
Okay.
When they played at Coachella. And they did a thing at the end of the show where they poured these balloons over the top of the stage at the very end, at the finale, that were like these gigantic beach balls that were all glowing, and they were lit up to the beat of the music. and it just sort of spread out along the crowd like a virus. There were just hundreds of balloons, and the sense of community that you had in that moment was just it was one of the most exciting things I've ever seen live.
Wow.
But that was with and that was at Coachella, so that probably had 60,000 people all in a
Last year, 2019.
no, this was several years ago now.
Oh,
This
okay.
is whenever they headlined Coachella, which would be like 6 years ago or so.
Well,
Um,
funny story about Arcade Fire.
yeah.
I've only seen them one time, and in my music world, in the indie world, they're the kings, they're the
Yes, they are.
biggest of the
And
big.
they know it.
They know it. But back in 2004, they weren't. And, I told you my brother's a promoter and he owns some clubs, but he booked the Arcade Fire as a nobody on a $150 guarantee. $150. Now, they, over the course of the next couple of months, got huge off that debut album to the point where they were packing theaters and much, much bigger places, right? So they honored their original deal, played this little basement-y club. They got paid more than $150 because it sold out. But I mean, basically, they were a band that was probably getting $20, $30, $40,000 at that point. They still showed up to do a gig where they were only
That's
guaranteed
cool.
$150. I was just like, oh, that's cool. That is a little different. So
I think the real pros are just not thrown by much. You know what I mean? They're not thrown by not getting paid, by a shitty environment, by the royal treatment. They know that it's a coin toss,
yeah.
and they're definitely pros.
Well, so we were going to talk about the last couple of shows, last 2-3 shows we saw prior to going
Yeah.
into lockdown here and not able to see any shows. I don't know about Florida, but here in Nebraska, we're not under total lockdown. This is one of the states that sort of never did that because our governor's kind of an idiot. But they did restrict places to 10 people in gatherings to 10.
Right.
And restaurants are all closed, all the bars, all the rock clubs. So it's effectively a shutdown, but I mean, it's a technical thing. So that started about the beginning of the first or second week in March, I want to say.
Okay.
That's when everything started getting canceled. But the last show I saw was I think it was the end of February. It's the last concert I saw. And it was actually a tribute show. I saw they were called the Rush Tribute Project.
Okay.
Okay. And they benefited greatly from timing because it was just a few weeks after Neil Peart died.
Wow. Okay.
And they had been booked long before. So the club was packed, and probably a Rush tribute act they draw some people for sure, but not necessarily, 300-400 maybe. That was unusual. And that was technically the last show that I saw.
Okay.
And they were really good. I mean, I like Rush. I think they're a good band. I like certain eras of Rush. I don't like the whole canon, as it were. But, seeing these guys was pretty interesting. I mean, they didn't look like Rush too much, but they definitely, they were capable players for sure. That's the key with Rush. You have to, the drummer has to be able to do every little drum fill. The bass player, the Geddy Lee guy, has to be able to get his voice real high, has to be able to play the bass. You know what I mean? But overall, it was a pretty good show. If we ever get to see shows again, I'd maybe recommend it.
Well, I hope for your sake that your last show isn't a tribute band. All respect to tribute bands, and I don't, I've seen a lot of them, and I've enjoyed, a lot of tribute bands. I've seen some great AC/DC tribute band. I've never seen AC/DC live, but I've seen a great tribute band, and I know that sounds ridiculous, but you know what? But it was cool, and they're musicians, and it's music, and they're, and they're celebrating the songs. I mean, how much different is that than, a band that was around in the 70s that is still playing in 2020 that has only one member.
One guy, right. You go up there and every guy's like, 29 and, you're just like, who are these guys that this band's formed and these guys weren't even born and they're, playing on it.
Well, I'm totally not a purist in that sense, you know, because so many people you can like one of the bands I saw last year that was great was Kiss. And you know, and I grew up with Kiss in the 70s and I had a great that was my first Kiss show that I ever saw was just last year. But you know, if you think about all the lies that are told on the credits of records and things like that, and the fact that you
Yeah.
know especially with Kiss, right? And with when bands are truly in their prime, you know, where all the members are on point, it's a really narrow window. You know, if you're to hold any band to say, well, it was just this, it was only pure during this lineup and this, I mean, it's a ridiculous way to narrow your live experience. So,
Right.
well,
Well,
my,
I mean, you know me and Kiss. I mean, of course,
yeah,
they're my favorite, and I am very opinionated about it. But one of the opinions I've never had is that Kiss has to have the original four guys. So there's a misconception from some people in some circles that people who kind of don't like the idea of what the current Kiss is doing, meaning having Tommy Thayer be Ace Frehley, having
right,
Eric Singer be Peter Criss, that there's something just aesthetically wrong with that. And they always turn that around and say, oh, well, you just only like the original four members. No, I saw them in the 80s without makeup multiple times, 7, 8, 9, 10 times probably. And I loved every one of those shows. So I'm not a purist in that sense where it has to be like all the original guys.
right.
I just feel like in the case of Kiss, if you want to have replacement members, have them be new guys. Pretending to be Ace and Peter just sort of does rub me the wrong way. But I saw the show last year too. I enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie. It was an enjoyable show, great presentation, all of that. It's just something just sticks in my craw about how they did.
And you can't help that, you know, it's like it's not even you can like, you know, that's you feel how you feel, you can't necessarily intellectualize your way around it. But you know, when I grew up, my favorite was Ace Frehley.
Yeah.
Shock Me was the first rock song I ever liked. And I have to tell you, my favorite part of that show, and I was not expecting this, but my favorite part of the show was the Tommy Thayer section when they did
Really?
in and they did that heavy guitar stuff. And they just, I forget, is it 100,000 Years? I think that
Yeah.
was in the set. And that goes next to Cold Gin. But that was just so heavy metal. That was just so 70s and just so cool. That was my
Well,
favorite part of
and
seeing.
to prove I'm not a hater of Tommy Thayer, I actually have in my record collection 3 of the 4 Black and Blue albums
Right.
on vinyl. Okay, I actually liked that band in the 80s. And the truth be told, their 2 albums they made before they met up with Gene Simmons, who then produced their second 2,
Right.
um, were much better. And Gene Simmons is really not a good producer of other people because he really kind of brought them down a little bit. But that's a side note, neither here nor
Right.
there.
Right.
But no, I'm not a hater of them, and Tommy Thayer's a competent player, no question. He knows the licks. In fact, he fucking taught them back to Ace Frehley, who'd kind of forgotten them when they were
I've
doing the
heard that.
reunion.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Well, you know, they the thing is that, you know, what Kiss created in the 70s was such a magical formula. The characters, you know, I mean, I don't want Eric the Fox behind the drums. I want the Catman
Right.
behind the drums. And you know, and they provided that. You know,
They do.
what they originally created, the magic of that, you know, I didn't have to squint my eyes too hard to feel like I was in the 70s again, you know.
Look,
So
they
I
put
thought
on a show,
they totally delivered, you
and
know.
this is an argument that, about what they're doing or whatever is an argument that will never be settled among Kiss fans because people are
Right.
super passionate about it either way. I even when this uh, coronavirus is over and touring is back, I probably won't go see Kiss again because I felt like I said my goodbyes last year, and I'm like, I saw them one final time, and that's it. I've been a lifelong fan. I'm done at this point. Now they're in the rearview mirror. Except there's a rumor that for the very, very, very last show in Madison Square Garden, They're going to have Ace. They're going to have Peter, maybe Vinnie Vincent, probably Bruce Kulick, you know, to do something where they're all there or whatever.
Right.
If I could somehow finagle a ticket to that, I'd do it, you know?
Well, the and that's cool, and anybody who feels that's awesome would be great. I would not trade my experience of having a good 2 hour set that was totally solid, where I had a good time, where I knew what I was going to get and I got it. I wouldn't trade that for I don't know, the risk of that, especially with the personalities involved
Oh, yeah.
in Kiss. That just seems like so.
Hey, look, I saw the first reunion show at Tiger Stadium in '96, and I didn't know this at the time. We subsequently learned this later, but Ace almost missed that show.
Yeah. He's
He's super unreliable.
well, I recently read the book called Kiss and Tell.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have, or rather, not Kiss and Tell. It's called Kiss and Sell.
Chris Lent, C.K. Lent, yeah.
Yeah, great book. And anyway, it is very clear after reading that book why Ace and Peter were not welcome back into the band, because it's just like, I think there's a clip on YouTube which I think says it all, where Ace comes out. They're all like heading to the stage, right? And Ace comes out and he says, "I've got a rock in my boot. I've got a rock in my shoe. I can't go." It reminds me of like Tanya Harding with her brokenness. It's like, you should have taken care of that. You know what I mean? That's just not professional.
That's true.
I mean, that's only and that's just the start of it with Ace. So, I mean, I understand why, as a professional organization, he's no longer part of it.
Right. No, I get it. And well, before we go down too deep a rabbit hole.
Yeah. We should. Well, let me circle back to what my last show was.
Yeah,
my
what was your last
show? Which was a double bill of Lucifer. Do you know who they are? The current band, Lucifer. They're like a set. Imagine Black Sabbath with a female singer. They were.
You show one of their records in one of your videos.
I have shown it, yeah.
I feel like that's where I saw it, yeah.
Yeah, they're quite good. They're like a '70s hard rock, like Coven, with this pretty dynamic female vocal. And then they had a band who I actually like a lot more called Savage Master, which is much more of like an '80s vibe type of thing. But that was a really good show. But one of the funny things just about that show is that I got knocked down onto the ground by a mosher at that show. Like at every metal show, there is some person who's usually like 5 feet or under, who is just like going to be a bullet, like a mosh bullet.
Yeah.
And they're just going to hit people. And we just had like just an extraordinary person like that who seemed intent to like hit as many people as they could. During that show. So if that was my last rock show, that's kind of funny.
Well, it sounds like, I mean, look, at least you saw the actual band, mine was a tribute show, but right before that, maybe 2 weeks or so before that, I did see the New Pornographers, which is a band I've liked for a long time. They did a mini US tour before they went to Australia. And I think this whole lockdown stuff started while they were in Australia. So I got to see one final show.
Is that the band with Nico Case in it or no?
She is. Now it's not her band in the sense but she's in it. And there are times where she doesn't appear, and she's just replaced by somebody else. So the rule is they don't really tell people who's in the lineup, because sometimes Dan Behar from the group Destroyer is there also. And so they don't advertise who's going to be there just in case it's not going to be Nico Case. In this case, she was there. And, great show. I've seen them before. They're very talented. They're very great musicians. They're super precise and all that. But they don't put on the most amazing show. It's an enjoyable show. But I mean, I've seen them so many times. I guess I don't know what I was expecting. But so that's my last actual professional band, a real band, not a tribute
Right.
act or a cover band. Would be new for now. And it was on February 13th of 2020, and I remember that because that was my birthday. So I got to see them on my birthday.
Oh, that's
That
nice.
was good, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think my show was in January or in late December or something like that. So at least I got like the year started off correct. I
Yeah.
feel like, but I am starting to Jones for a concert. And I'm wondering how long
Well,
that is
I'm
going to
starting to
be.
read some articles out there where they're in Europe where they're starting to experiment with the idea of a drive-in concert where you sit in
Ooh,
your car, you drive into some place, the band is up on a stage, and you sit in your car, and it's two people limit unless it's
wow.
family or whatever, and apparently you're not allowed to leave the car.
Okay.
So I guess if you have to pee or whatever, you're better bring a bottle or something. I don't know
This bottle man.
what the
I had not thought of that. That makes a lot of sense.
yeah, it could be really fun.
Did you go to drive-ins as a kid?
I did as a little kid. I have vague
Yeah.
memories of going to drive-in theaters and the old
Yeah, me
speakers
too.
that you sit in the come inside the car, just sort of place it in the car so you can hear it and stuff. Yeah, I have vague memories of that, but yeah, it was when I was very little.
Because they can just put the Marshall stack right there
Yeah,
on the driver's window.
so I think that's a really interesting idea. People are trying to
Yeah.
come up with something.
Well, I mean, because the sad thing is that it's that physical presence thing, and like I was saying with the Arcade Fire, you don't even have to love the band to get a high off of the energy of all those people. And actually in your car, you'd still feel that. You'd still feel the community of all those people. Uh,
You would, because
you
you could
know,
just look to your left, look to your right. You're still
yeah.
seeing other people. They're just safe enough, and you don't have to worry about getting sick or whatever. There's always going to be some drunk asshole that's going to run around, and you know what I mean. There's going to be some problem somewhere, but
Someone moshing up against the driver's side door and just
hey, look, if they can get it together, that would be fantastic.
that would be cool. I it's interesting. I wonder how long that will last. Hopefully it'll be at the most it would be a year or two.
I mean,
But who knows?
the state of California has floated out ideas that they're not going to allow concerts till the end of 2021.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really hope that is, you know, dialed back a bit. Not just, hey, look, if that's what it has to be, then that's what it has to be. But that will literally destroy pretty much every promoter, every
Yeah.
booker of talent, every whatever. Half the venues will be shut down. It will eliminate the industry. So I'm hoping that's not true, but I want to be safe. I mean, I don't want to. People aren't going to go to a concert if they think that they're going to be potentially get sick from someone. And I don't
That's
even
right.
see people wanting to go to concerts and wearing masks. I mean, I still think that's going to be a little bit, people aren't going to want to do that. I mean, I don't know. It's just a feeling. I mean, here in Nebraska, I wear a mask when I go out or when I go to the grocery store or whatever, but almost nobody else does. Nebraska's just giving the finger to the
Yeah.
CDC or whatever. They're just like, fuck you. We're not doing it. I think it's ridiculous, but that's just me. Side note
Yeah.
there. I go off on these tangents.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, I just don't know the proximity of that you are to people and how much can they, I don't know. I don't want to be in a cubicle in a small, my favorite thing is to go to a venue that's 1,000 or less.
Yeah.
That would be my ideal show, to have some level of intimacy. But I guess, a mask where everybody's next to each other as opposed to everybody in a Spinal Tap condom or something
Yeah,
to
no, I'll take
experience the
it. I'll
show.
take it. That would definitely be preferable. So, so let's move on to the
Okay.
next segment, which would be sort of shows that you were looking forward to coming up and
Yeah.
that have now been canceled. And so we'll just trade off. Why don't you start with
Okay.
your first one?
Okay, well, the first one would have been probably just about like a week ago or in a week, something like that. And it was going to be Liz Fair and Juliana Hatfield.
Ooh,
And they were both playing at this brewery downtown. So it would have been like a small venue that served beer and get to see Liz Fair and Juliana Hatfield. And I saw Liz Fair in her prime when she was awful.
right.
It was really, it changed my taste. It informed my taste about what makes a good live show. Uh, in the negative
Yeah.
back in the day, only because she had the same guitar sound, she had the same vocal sound for 2 hours, and it wasn't as dynamic as a live show should have been. It was just super monotonous. It was super monotone. But I have so much respect for the fact that she's still out there doing it, and she's gotten better. And so many people of that era did not take care of themselves, or they've killed
Right.
themselves, or they've gone bad. And back in the '90s, I was a big fan of the Blake Babies and Juliana Hatfield. And I never saw her live, so I thought, what a great double bill that would have been.
That is a dream show for me too. That was not
Yeah,
coming anywhere near me. I agree with you about Liz Fair. In the 90s, she was not a great performer. I saw her last year, summer of 2019, at a festival called the 8035 Festival in Des Moines, Iowa. And she was great. And I had this impression of her that she was going to be the same Liz Fair that I saw in 1994, 94, which was meek and timid and nervous and not really very, she didn't really sing very well like she did on the record. And, you know, it was not terrible or anything. I understood what was happening. She was not the greatest performer and she just hadn't
right.
gotten there yet. Now she can sit there in front of, thousands of people and, really deliver a show. She is a more professional performer with like a
Absolutely, yeah.
professional young band playing behind her and they play the hits, including the stuff of Liz Fair's that I don't even like, which is I only really like her first three records and then all the other stuff after that I find pretty boring. But she'll play the hits off of whatever.
Yeah, totally.
So it was actually pretty enjoyable. Juliana, I've only seen one time, and that was back in the '90s, and she was opening for somebody, so I didn't even get to see a full set. But
Yeah,
1994, Dave, would be an absolute heaven with the idea that Juliana Hatfield and Liz Fair are going to be in the same room. Hell, that would
yeah.
be
I
enough for me.
I thought that would have just been the coolest, like, just a nostalgia vibe and a cool vibe, because they are both like healthy and kicking it and really professional and into what they're doing. And you know it's a real bummer that
That is about man. If I had heard about that show, holy crap.
yeah.
Okay, so mine would be actually Bright Eyes. And I don't have a
Okay.
specific day when it's booked, but it was announced before COVID-19 came on the scene that Bright Eyes was back together. They were doing a brand new record and they were going to tour. And Connor Oberst hasn't been part of Bright Eyes since 2011, I think, is when they put out their last album. He's done a lot of stuff since then, but Bright Eyes is the best of his career, in my opinion. And I was looking forward to them being back. When you're gone for almost 9 years, um, it's almost, I mean, almost a decade. That's pretty significant. I was excited, especially being from Omaha, where Bright Eyes is from. And they're the only real international uh, big music success that's still going, or they were, now they're back or whatever. So I guess I'm looking forward to that. He's put out two new songs from this forthcoming record. And they're not saying when the album is, what it's going to be called or when it's coming out. They're just kind of like, here's some songs and throwing them out there. And they're very good, you know? So
how
I'm
many
feeling
how
like I'm
many
missing that. Yeah.
how many people would have been at that show?
In Omaha, I mean, he probably would play for a couple thousand. Bright Eyes
That's
would.
nice. That's nice. It's not
Yeah.
like a gigantic show. It's not like a tiny show.
Well,
It's
and
a
the funny thing is that
size.
his tour was booked for the summer, and there wasn't even a date in Omaha. And Connor's from Omaha, so it's like, and so is
Right.
Mike Mogus, one of the other guys in the band. There's 3 core members, but so there wasn't a date in Omaha specific, but I knew there would be at some point. I mean, I don't think he's just going to avoid playing his hometown. So
Right.
I figured eventually there would be a date announced and I'd be able to see it. Gone are the days where where you can see them in a club. It's just not going to happen. Or they're not as big as they were at their peak, where they would play like in front of like maybe 4,000 or 5,000 people in a big theater or / mini arena, which I've also seen him do. So it's a good balance, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was also going to see King Crimson,
Oh,
and that I'm really bummed about because I mean they talk about a band that's not literally got one original member in it these days, but that would have been one great one to get off the bucket list. They were playing at a really nice theater, and they have a whole modern presentation, and that's kind of a bummer to have that one wiped off the. Just
and
probably
you don't
not
know
going
if
to
that'll
happen.
ever happen again.
And that may never happen
Right.
again. Exactly.
That is a bummer. Well, my other one, or one of my other ones, I would say would be the Maha Music Festival was canceled, and that's a big deal for me here in Omaha. I've done a lot of videos on it. If people go back and check out my, the archives or whatever, it's a festival I've worked at for the last like 7 years, and it's like a boutique festival, maybe 10,000 people maximum. There's no functional way to plan anything prior to maybe September that needs that big of a production and costs that much money and requires that many people involved. I mean, it's just really hard to cancel that stuff too late,
Yeah, it's got to be a nightmare for anyone in that business because, and also the optics of it. If you're the corporation behind it, are you going to say, well, let's go forward with it, and despite the health risk, now you look like a total profiteering jerk. If you're just trying to put on a show. Until the all clear is given, it's sort of, politically incorrect.
Well,
If I show up with a nice new haircut in my next video, you'll know I'm a person of low moral character because I've forced a barber to work on me.
unless you know Edward Scissorhands, and that could be like at a distance or whatever. But no, I mean, my hair, I'm bald, but I'm out of control a little bit on the
You
side.
still need we all still need
I need to get it cleaned up. I need to get the beard cleaned up, but I'll get it to like Billy Gibbons before I'm gonna risk dying over getting a fucking haircut. You know what I mean?
right.
Hey, I'll live to see a concert, another day. Now, I don't know if Fiona Apple was planning on a tour, but she did just drop a new album, and in theory, summer is the time that everyone tours. I would have expected her to do some type of touring, and now maybe that's never going to happen. That's something else I would have liked to have seen, because I love her new album. I think it's fantastic, and I've only seen her one time, and it was her.
I did listen to her new record, and I enjoyed it. It's not usually my thing, but yeah, I enjoyed that record. But yeah, how could you you can't, the summer tours are just over. That's just not, I mean, if for this summer, it's just, I don't see how it could happen.
No, I don't see how it could happen either. And it's just really too bad because I mean, it's such a lost opportunities. But I mean, I totally get it. And, I mean, I just don't see any other options around it. It's just people are going to be reminiscing about the old days,
So if you could pick one show that let's say that there was one show or a couple shows that were definitely going to happen, that you could say, okay, you know what, you will get a few more shows. What would be on your wish list?
I'd want to see the Fiona Apple show, honestly, just because I've only seen her one time, and the one time she was opening for Coldplay. And I mean, come on, Coldplay, no. It was a 45-minute set or whatever. So that's all I've ever seen her. That would be one that I would really like to see.
So you're doing a headliner show.
Yeah, a headline
Yeah.
show in a theater or like a little outdoor pavilion type place that's not too huge, but good size. That would be my number one, I suppose, just because I can't really think of. I mean, I see an inordinate amount of shows. I understand that. I see more than
Right.
most
Right.
people, especially most people my age. But I've seen a lot of people over and over and over and stuff. There's nobody that I'm dying to see that is even a possibility of playing. So in other words, if I wanted to see whatever Dinosaur Jr., yeah, I'd get an opportunity probably to see Dinosaur Jr. again. But there are some bands that just they will never be getting back together. Or you know what? There was a rumor about the Kinks getting back together for one
Right.
final tour maybe this year. Obviously, that's not going to happen. They're so fucking old already, like
Yeah, I mean that like I'm a huge Kinks fan. If I could go back into the 70s and see the Kinks, that's another story.
sure,
And I've seen Dave live and I've seen Ray live separately.
right.
But no way would I pay $300 to, see the two of them pantomime their hits with,
No,
and not out of any kind of purist, just out of a practicality thing. It's like, come on, how stupid do you think I am as a customer that you sold me the Kinks? No, the Kinks
no.
are
I
the
think the latest time for a reunion for them would have been in the 90s. Literally, that's they could.
totally.
That's
Yeah.
the absolute latest time they could have pulled it off and had it still be kind of enjoyable and not feeling like you're looking at your great grandparents up there,
Right.
and with maybe people in the background filling up a lot of the instrumentation, extra guys you're not seeing and whatever. And so yeah, no, I would have loved to have seen the Kinks even as up to the Give the People What They Want tour in the early 80s.
Oh, sure.
That would have been great, you
Well,
know?
when I saw Dave Davies, this was post stroke. Uh,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and he was certainly impaired a little bit, but it was just him. It was very intimate. It was the crowd and myself included were very forgiving of everything that was a little bit off. It just sort of you just admired him for the effort, really.
Right, right.
But I wouldn't admire him for the effort if I had paid $300 for the ticket and they're playing a stadium.
Exactly.
At that point, I'm pissed off.
Right. No, I saw Ray in the 90s, and I was at a theater that probably held about 1,000 people or so, and I lucked into a front row seat. Like it was not reserved seats; it was just get in there and sit down when
Nice.
you want to. And there were two spots in the front row, and I think it was 2 minutes before showtime. I'm like, those have to be saved for somebody. I mean, why would they still be there? But I'm like, all right, let's just ask. And I walked up. Hey, are those seats taken? No. Are you fucking kidding me? So I saw Ray front row, which was great, and I enjoyed it. I didn't know much of what he was doing. He was that storytelling sort of
Right.
show where he's
Right.
playing songs and telling stories and whatever. Um, but whatever, yeah, that would have been a bucket list thing to see in the 90s. But I think they're past their sell by date. It couldn't happen anymore. You know.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, trying to think of what else. I mean, short like a Sonic Youth reunion, which I
Uh,
would just love to see. Um, that's maybe it. That's like something that someday maybe it could actually happen. I mean, there was so much acrimony between Thurston and Kim.
yeah.
Understandably. I mean, totally justified on Kim's part. I would be pissed too. Um,
Right.
she's totally justified. But unfortunately, Thurston Moore's dick broke up Sonic Youth, and and now one of my favorite bands of all time. They were peaking out at the end there. I mean, their final album.
I had lost interest in them, but I mean,
Really?
I personally, just for me personally, but I mean, I saw them in 1986, and I saw them all the way up to like 94, and I saw them a bunch of times. And I
Yeah.
mean, I saw them for $6 in Jacksonville at the beach, and I got to meet them as they were walking into the club.
Nice.
And one of my school friends smoked pot with them in their van after the show. So I mean, and that was seeing them in that tiny club. That was just awesome. I mean, I know there's nothing that could ever compare with that. So I'm not hurting. For me, I would love to see. There's a modern band that I just got turned on to called the Lemon Twigs. Is that what they're
Yeah,
called?
yeah, yeah. I know they're from Chicago, I think, right?
Yeah, I dig that. I would like to see that live just because I love their energy and their melodic thing and their intensity. And I bet that would be a fun show. I'd love to see Uriah Heep one more time.
How
And
many times have you seen them total?
probably like 8 times,
Okay.
but I wish I saw them 3 times last year, but I finally decided, I would pay for the VIP ticket because first of all, they're the cheapest VIP ticket. but if I get the chance, I would definitely do that just because it'd be cool to get cool to meet them once and get a couple vinyl signed.
Absolutely.
It'd be killer to have that experience. So
No,
fingers crossed.
those VIP, meet and greet deals. I mean,
It's mostly a sham.
I have negative thoughts on them. However, I think for older bands like a Uriah Heep or whatever, I think it's not that big a deal because first of all, you know, they're playing in smaller venues than maybe during their heyday. They're not making as much money as they used to. They have some fans that are there for 30 years. They're willing to pay $100, 200, whatever, to get to hang out with them for a little bit. What I object to really is like newer bands doing it.
Yeah.
You've been around for 15 minutes. Who the fuck needs to pay you money to hang out with you or to have you sign my record? You should still be in the appreciative stage where you're appreciative of me.
Right,
I'm the
right.
person who bought your fucking record. I'm here at the show. I bought a ticket. There's not this, I'm going to pay just to stand next to you. Like that
Totally.
you have to be a legendary status for that. Like, I get it. Madonna doesn't want to meet every schmo off the street.
Right.
You got to, if you're willing to pay $1,000 to schmooze with Madonna, okay, if that's where you want to spend your money. But I sort of object, but I get it with older artists, especially ones that were never huge, like a Uriah Heep or
Right.
Uli John Roth was going to come to Omaha over the summer. He was going to play at my brother's club. And, he left the Scorpions 40 years ago, it's not like you're going to get many opportunities to see this dude. And he probably asked for a little bit of money to hang out with him because he knows there's some old guitar nerds that are willing to pay them, $100 to hang out with him.
I've taken a couple guitar lessons from Uli.
Really?
And I've done his little workshop, and it was awesome. He is an awesome dude. So yeah, if you ever get a chance to spend time with Uli John Roth, it's worth it because he's a mystic and a guitar player. He's a cool cat.
I've been over the last couple years really trying to get into more 70s Scorpion stuff.
Yeah.
I do really love that Tale of the Tapes live record because he's still on that one. I have no idea why they ever.
You mean the Tokyo tapes?
Tokyo tapes. Yeah, you're right. Tokyo tapes. I don't know why they ever let him sing when you have Klaus Meine.
Oh God Almighty!
There's no point.
No one should ever let him sing. No doubt about that.
He definitely was pretty fucking great on the guitar on those records, and they had a little bit more of a groove back then, I feel like. And then once he left, and they got slightly more regimented and professional, I still love that Scorpions, Love Drive and whatever, a Blackout, whatever. But they are a different band once he left. And I'm just now realizing that, learning about that, because I didn't know any of that stuff. My Scorpions knowledge began with the one record with the guy touching that girl's tit with the gum, and because that was so fascinating to me at age 10 or 11 when I first saw it. I was like, oh, I like this band, Didn't even know who they were, but it was like, this is a good cover.
Well, love it first. I mean, they were a great band before and after. And I mean, as much as I love the Uli era, I can see why they kicked him out. Wanting to sing would be at the top of the list.
Yeah, that was a bad idea. Him singing was just not good.
Oh,
not
man.
Good. So were there any the shows that got canceled that you saw, those were the only ones that were upcoming for you that you thought,
Those were the only two, and I mean, and I'm in kind of in a real limited market. I mean, a
right?
lot of bands don't come south of Georgia. They don't come south of Atlanta. So yeah, it was kind of a limited prospect. That's one reason I was like, oh, really keeping my eye out for things that I could go to. So
Absolutely. Well, I
I
did
had
have
nothing on the horizon.
I had a couple, and I don't know whether these are going to happen. I mean, two of them are in August, and I don't know if it's good things are going to be ready by then. But here in Omaha on August 15th, there's two shows I want to see both on the same day at different venues.
Oh wow.
I want to see Built to Spill, who I've seen probably more than any other band. I've seen them maybe 20 times.
Okay.
I always see them. And then an up and comer female indie artist named Anna Birch. And
Okay.
I've heard an EP that she put out last year was really, really good. I mean, my taste leans heavily towards 90s indie sounding with a female singer.
Right.
I mean, I love that shit.
Right.
That's what she does. So I would have probably seen both of those in October. This band from Africa, I think they're called like Madhu Mokhtar, something like that. They're
Hmm.
a guitar band from Africa, and they're supposed to be just genius. And I tried to go see them last time, and it was sold out. They're playing, and then David Nance is opening, which would
Oh
be really
nice.
cool. And Waxahachie has a new album out, and they were going on tour, and they were supposed to be playing here in October. Kind of hoping that will happen, but who knows? I mean, I don't know if it's gonna be done. I mean, and it's not even about whether it's okay in one city. It's like these bands have to book an entire tour.
Yeah, yeah, they've got to
So
go to another town the next night.
right, so it's like it's hard to know with every state being different, having different rules, having different dates and deadlines. How are you supposed to book a tour? It just doesn't seem. I mean, I'm not envious of
Yeah,
booking industry, which I've been hearing a lot of booking agents have been getting fired lately because there's nothing to book, so
right.
we can't keep you on. Um, and I have someone close to me, meaning my brother, who owns some venues. So obviously, I'm very close to the stress going on with that because how long can you just keep things shut? I mean,
Right.
before you're just done. And I mean, I hope that's not the case. But I don't know how much. It depends on how long it's going to take. Obviously.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're in a phase right now where we're gonna see some stuff develop. Hopefully we're gonna see things improve, or we're gonna see things get worse to where we know that you
We
know
fucked up.
that we fucked up and we're under more lockdown, and we'll be really glad we've seen all the shows that we've seen.
Mm.
That's some. I mean, I feel lucky. I mean, I know you. I'm sure you feel lucky at all the shows that you've seen. But I started seeing concerts at 12 years old, and I've seen a ton of shows. And some people who really like music, they decided in their mid 20s that concerts were too big of a hassle to go to.
Yeah.
And I, like I told you, I was willing to go to this shitty little club to see Lucifer and Savage Master get knocked on my ass by an 18-year-old idiot, just for the privilege of seeing a live show, and because I value that. So
No, it gets harder and harder the older you get to find like that concert buddy that will go to a show with you no matter what, because everyone.
right,
I get it. I mean, you're tired. You got to work the next morning. It's Wednesday. I got a meeting at tomorrow morning and this and that, or I gotta. And I get it. I'm not married and I don't have kids, so it's a lot easier for me
right,
to go out. My brother owns the venue that I go to 90% of the time, so if I don't I don't feel guilty about, I don't have to pay. I can just, if it's boring or it sucks, I can just leave. No harm, no foul.
right, yeah,
But so I get it. I'm in a different position, but I still want to get back to that. It is the number one thing I'm missing in all of this lockdown. It's my main social activity. I really don't even like going to bars unless they're offering me live entertainment.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't go just to hang out to drink. I'm not a drinker.
right,
So I don't need that activity. I want to see a band. And I too have been going to shows since 12. my first show, 83 at in Omaha, REO Speedwagon on the
Nice.
Good Trouble tour.
Okay.
That was the tour. That was the record they did after High Infidelity, which was their major
Okay. Yep.
big
Yep.
one. It
That's
was the next tour after that. As that was my first show.
cool. Gary Richrath.
Yeah. Hey, that guy's a monster guitar player.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, Chris from Vinyl Transmission. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for appearing. And,
My pleasure, man.
we're
Let's
going to do it
again.
again. And here's hoping that you get your setup back and we start seeing some new videos.
Awesome. I appreciate that, brother.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Take care, man.
Okay. Thanks.
Bye.
All right. Cheers for staying all the way to the end of this video. Much appreciated. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Take care.